So, with the long list of players Cincinnati wants to target, at certain positions, especially veterans, right? We can talk about the tight end position. They want to target halfback position, cornerbacks, even though today they did sign 28-year-old Sidney Jones. They want to continue to get better, right? You want to continue to add on to what you already have and welcome new players to your roster. Well, with Cincinnati coming in at 29th last year for total sacks in the NFL, it's pretty obvious that pass rusher, edge rusher, some type of guy that can get after the quarterback is a position that they are always interested in, right? It's a position that they're always going to be going after and trying to find that said special player. Well, now put in two different players that they brought in for visits. Terrell Basham and Katavius Street. Two players they brought in on as defensive tackles to see if they could possibly become new Cincinnati Bengals. Now, who are these two players, right? First off, Kadavius Street was a former fourth-round pick for the San Francisco 49ers in the 2018 NFL Draft. He's played 3 seasons with the 49ers and 1 season with the New Orleans Saints. He's 27 years old, and he's played 3 seasons, 15 games, 17 games, 17 games, but only started a total of 4 games in 4 seasons. Last season was his best season. Put up 3.5 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. 2021 with the 49ers, 3 sacks and 5 quarterback hits. So, again, we're going to look at his Pro Football Focus page here. He's a 59.8 pass rushing grade, 42.3 rush defense grade, and the 49.2 overall grade. All these players are bringing in, by the way, whether it is Street or it's going to be Basham, all this is really depth purposes, right? You bring in a guy who maybe he ends up becoming the guy, but at the end of the day, you get a lot of these guys on league minimum contracts, 1 year league minimum. See, maybe possibly you sign him. Because again, a lot of these players aren't players that you're looking at and you're going, oh, that's our new starter. That's a new starter guy right there. A lot of it's just like Sidney Jones today, where it's just kind of a rotational guy, if anything. And, if he comes in and helps you guys, maybe get 1, 2, 3 sacks in crucial positions, he pays off his contract. I said this with the Ravens last year when they signed Deshaun Jackson. I said, listen, I understand you bring this guy in. He might not be anything special. But if he catches 1 pass in the playoffs for a touchdown, he's worth all the money in the world. If, Street, you bring him in, and he gets a sack on Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game, causes him to fumble the ball, he's worth that 1 year, $1.2 million contract, right? Because he at least made that one play that caused his worth. The second guy we have here is Terrell Basham. Terrell Basham is a 29-year-old pass rusher, defensive lineman. He was not drafted. He currently, I think, is on the Tennessee Titans, but currently he's a free agent. He was not drafted at all. He started with the Colts. Then he went from the Colts to the Colts in 2018, then to the Jets, then to the Jets again, the Jets, the Cowboys to the Titans. We actually moved from defensive end to what's outside linebacker, to left defensive end, to defensive end, to outside linebacker. Holy crap, this guy's been passed around more than a box of cigarettes in jail. Okay? I'm just going to say that right now. Man's been absolutely everywhere. But he's put up a little bit more stat-wise than our first guy, Street. Because he put up 2 sacks his rookie season, 2 sacks with the Jets in 2019, 3.5, 0, and obviously quarterback hits-wise, pretty decently okay, nothing crazy special. His actual grades are a lot better, though, than Street. Now, keep in mind, I said this with Sidney Jones. If you have played a lot less games or started a lot less games than somebody else, your stats or your grades might look worse than somebody else. Doesn't mean that they're actually worse than somebody else, though. I hope that makes sense. What I'm trying to say is, just because if you play, let's say I played 10 games, right? And out of 10 games, I messed up one time, right? One time I had a bad game. That puts me at a 90% grade, right? Because I had, all A's, 1 F. 90%, right? Now, let's say, hypothetically speaking, look at the same concept, but with, you play 100 games, right? And you have one mess up. Well, now that's a 95%. I'm 5% better, even though we mess up the same time because I played more games than you. If I play, 100 games, and I mess up 10 times, then we have the same grade, even though you only messed up once. It's hard to look at sample sizes unless everything is even and everything is in the same layer that you can say, okay, this guy did this guy did this guy did this, right? Because of that, you kind of can't, put players in the same perspective. But he's a 73.7 overall grade, 69.7 run defense, 67.5 pass defense. He's a solid player. And if we look at throughout his career, he's been actually pretty crap. I'll be honest with you. He's not been that great. He's been pretty below average. So the question is, will Cincinnati sign either of these guys? My opinion is maybe one of them for depth purposes in the same contract Cody Ford got, which is going to be a league minimum, 1-year contract, nothing guaranteed, and neither of them will make the actual roster. They might not, they might not, by the end of the preseason. These are players you bring in, right, especially right now, on league minimum deals, and then they play in the preseason, and you draft somebody else. So say you draft, Moro Jabo, right, in the 5th round, right? You get Moro Jabo in the 5th round. You bring in Basham here, and he competes with Moro Jabo. Jabo outperforms him, looks amazing. You cut Basham, and you say, okay, Moro Jabo, you're our guy. Usually what you kind of have. It's depth purposes. It's players to compete in practice with, players to compete in games with, just to see what you have in them. And a lot of times, you might say, well, isn't that taking advantage of the player? A lot of times it's actually better for the player. Because let's say Basham does go out there and plays pretty dang good, but Moro Jabo just plays better. He's going to have game tape now. And he can go to every 31 NFL team and say, listen, look how I played for the Bengals in the preseason game. I looked pretty dang good, didn't I? Right? So it actually is better for the player overall because it helps them get their name out there and their player, profile out there. So if anything, it helps out the player. But 2 players they brought in today, neither one will probably get signed. Both of them will probably just end up becoming nothings. And, listen, at the end of the day, team always tries to get better. Who Dey Nation, 1-3. 1, 2, 3. Who Dey Nation. Peace.